Baseball is back, and at Team Toyota, savings and selection are back too. With tons of new Toyota SUVs, trucks, and hybrids to choose from, and with our lineup of over 200 certified used Toyotas, you can find the right fit for you and your budget. Plus, our service and collision centers are here to get you back in the game in no time. Visit one of our 3 locations in Princeton, Langhorne, or Glen Mills, or online at teamtoyota.net.
This is the Phillies Talk podcast presented by Team Toyota. I am Spencer McKercher, joined by Sean Kane,
yes, sir,
as well as another special.
Yeah, man, I love it. Hi.
I
just was passing by, and you know, I can only stay here for another 45 minutes or so. Mm-hmm. Ricky Bo.
Now it's a whole.
Go over there.
Guys do it.
Yeah,
There he is. You a little potting, are you?
We're potting, man. Yes.
Show you kicked me off of?
I'm a potted plant.
Friend of the podcast.
This might be the most electric start to a podcast.
I really think it is. Okay, Phillies on a tear. 1,
Go.
best starting staff in baseball. 2, they got 3 guys that are approaching either hitting 300 or approaching 300. This is pretty good. They need to get the bottom half of the lineup warming up. The relief situation, and I said it to Ricky the other night on Post Game Live. It's a little program we have. I don't know if you know, produced by that handsome gentleman over there, Sean Kane.
Yes,
I call him
sir.
Skane. That's his alter ego. Is Skane when he gets, and one of the things I would ask Ricky is whether or not this bullpen would be okay as presently constituted with the starting staff going the way it is, and I'll let you figure that out.
All right.
Okay,
There he goes.
I don't want to interrupt.
I think that might have been the best intro to any podcast of all time. As Michael Barkan,
it's usually tough to get him to come out of his shell in front of the camera. It's he's really was a little outgoing there. It surprised me.
Oh, okay. Hey, welcome in.
It was called. That's it.
That could be the podcast. Well, hey, thanks for listening.
Yes.
If your speakers were blown out and you're listening to this, I apologize. We both apologize, but we move on. As you can tell from the energy is great because the Phillies just took 3 of 4 from the Miami Marlins, the divisional foe, the bottom feeders, whatever you want to call them. Some of these games are close, especially on Thursday night as we sit down here.
Yeah.
But it's gearing up for an incredible weekend, which we'll get to at Citizens Bank Park with the Mets coming to town Friday through Sunday. But Sean, Michael just hinted at it. I think it would be a knock on the Phillies if we didn't start this podcast after all that, not talking about the starting pitching.
No doubt.
You just told me the stat that was run on Post Game Live today on Thursday.
Yep.
This starting staff, Cristopher Sánchez, Ranger Suarez especially, Jesus Luzardo, and Zach Wheeler, everybody has just been
pitching in.
And Mick Abel.
Yeah. So in this last run of 10 games, they had lost 9 of 10, and now in their next 10 after that, they've won 8 of 10. In those 10 games that they've won 8 of 10, they have a 2-2-1 collective from their starters. And you just listed the names. Luzardo obviously wasn't so great in his start in Miami, but if you take that out, these guys have been excellent. And Sanchez was awesome on Thursday. Probably could have finished the game, but erring on the side of caution, Rob Thompson got him out of there after 8. But I feel like he's the guy that, everybody talks about Zach Wheeler, rightfully so. He's the ace. Mick Abel's been a big story coming up. Luzardo's off to that great start. Now we're talking about his kind of up and down nature. Ranger, we talk about him, Aaron Nola. But Sanchez is the one that kind of flies under the radar. Like, he just kind of quietly goes about his business. And his ERA is under 3 now. After 15 starts, he's under 3. He was just lights out, ground ball after ground ball, weak contact, made it look easy against the Marlins. And he's been excellent. I think, now against the Marlins in 3 starts, 22 innings, 1 earned run. In the month of June, this June, he's got a 1.93 in 4 starts. He was the pitcher of the month last June.
Yep.
So it seems to be right around this time where he really starts to find his footing and take it to another level. But he's awesome, man. He was an all-star last year, and I think he should be an all-star again this year. One of the more underrated, not just pitchers, but players in baseball, in my opinion.
You said it. One of the most underrated because we've talked about how good Ranger Suarez has been. Obviously, we've talked about how good Zach Wheeler's been. We've talked about how good Jesus Luzardo has been, despite those 2 starts against Milwaukee and what was the other one? Toronto.
Yep.
Cristopher Sánchez is sitting here just saying, hey, I'm every single night going out here. You mentioned the month of June. He is coming into tonight. It's obviously lower after only allowing 1 earned runs over his 8 inning tonight. But coming into tonight, in June in his career, 12 starts. This was his 13th start in his career in June. But before, as I mentioned, before tonight, he had a 1.86 ERA in the month of June in 12 career starts. It's the best of any month he's ever had. And I think you're right. It's something about just kind of flipping that corner or flipping, I guess, the calendar, if you want to say. As soon as June comes, Sanchez kind of finds it.
Yep. No, he sure does. And yeah, the two Mr. Junes tonight or Thursday night, Sanchez and Schwarber coming through. But yeah, Sanchez is great. You know, Wheeler's going to get the ball Friday night in the big series opener against the Mets.
As it should.
You got to like their chances there. Yeah, exactly. So it's been great. The starting pitching's been great. The bullpen now, we're starting to see some roles kind of defined a little more with Kerkering in the late innings. He was great again, I thought, on Thursday. You know, he got hurt by an error by Alec Bohm, gave up the one little single to right center, but got out of trouble. You know, he's been great. I mean, he's got his ERA now in his last 21 appearances is under a 0.5. I mean, he's been awesome. So you guy you can count on in the back end. You know, Strom finds a way to get it done.
Is that your closer right now? I
think so. You know, I know Rob Thompson never going to commit to that one guy. He likes to talk about the pockets of the lineup. You know, there were some lefties in that pocket, so that's why we went with Strom. And you know, on Wednesday night, he kind of went with Strom as a lefty against some right-handers in the ninth inning, in fear of Jesus Sanchez coming up as a pinch hitter. He wanted him to stay on the bench. So, you know, he's going to bounce back and forth, but he's certainly the guy that I feel the most comfortable with in terms of a high leverage situation right now. And I think it's fair to speculate there'll be some more bullpen arms coming here in the next 6 weeks or so. So we'll see. But yeah, no, it was a good series. You know, the offense wasn't great, but you know, you go down there in that environment, you take 3 out of 4, get on the plane, come home, and play the Mets.
Yeah, I'm looking at this right now. So Ranger Suarez has a 2.20 ERA. McCable has a 2.21 ERA. Zach Wheeler has a 2.76 ERA.
Not bad.
Cristopher Sánchez has a 2.87 ERA, which is now they are 4 of the top 12. If they all qualify, I don't think McCable qualifies just yet, but if he does, in the whole National League, and those 4 starters are 21-5 this season.
Wow. And the one guy isn't there, Luzardo. 3 weeks ago, we were talking about him being
the Cy Young favorite. Yeah.
And now his numbers are way up, but yeah, obviously he's pitched at a very high level for the bulk of the season. So, you know,
it's impressive.
Nola's going to come back at some point. Painter's coming. You know, so it's a good problem to have with all these starting arms. But the pitching's been great.
And it's one of those things too, where obviously it's been the main talking point around this Phillies team is the starting rotation, how good they've been. It hit me tonight, I think, for the first time that it's like, man, every night, and I know it's the Marlins, I get that, but every night it's just like, oh, Cristopher Sánchez on the mound? Yep. Ranger Suarez on the mound? Yeah. Here's 7 innings. Here's 8 innings like tonight. It's just the confidence that's there in this Phillies bullpen, or excuse me, Phillies rotation. It's been a long week, you and I, as we mentioned on the last podcast, and it's just
4-gamer. It's been a long series.
It's been a long week, man. And all these games started at 6:40 in that lonely place down in Miami.
No getaway day time on Thursday was.
And they kind of played. We mentioned that a lot today or during the game.
Yeah.
Obviously, the Phillies offense didn't get anything going. We're worried about collecting hits for most of the game. They finally pick it up there in the 7th and 8th inning there. And obviously, Edward Cabrera gets taken out of the game.
That was crazy. Yeah, Clayton McCullough, that's, you know, he obviously has a number of pitches in mind, and he got him out of there after 82. And then, but yeah, just watch the guy. The Phillies had no chance against him for pretty much the whole night.
No chance.
And, you know, the bullpen comes in and it gets ugly. But it was a pacey game. It was a getaway game in terms of some early swings. And just to let you inside the newsroom secrets here a little bit, when we watch these games, Ricky Bottalico is borderline insane and thinks that, you know, if you make a comment about how quick the game is going, that is going to objectively cause the game to slow down, and it's your fault. So when the game goes extra innings or there's a couple of pitching changes, see, I told you. And tonight, you know, I like to have fun with him. We've been doing this now with him for 17 years, so I know how to press his buttons. And I asked him, Rick, this is a pretty pacey game. What do you think about this pace? And he just loses his mind. A couple of pitching changes in the 7th. It's all my fault, but it was still about a 2-hour and 10-minute game. So all's well that ends well.
It's a classic. Yeah. And then Ricky Bo just being insane, I feel like is not anything new here.
Stomping around the newsroom. Sean's fault. Thanks, Sean, for that one. Game's going to go 14. I hope it goes 14 innings just to show you.
There's a chance it did tonight, too.
Yeah.
As we sit down here, it's about 10 o'clock on Thursday. The Mets did just lose. So the Phillies
all even
tied for first place.
Wow.
First time since June 1st, 19 long days.
Yeah. June 12th, Spence.
Yeah.
They were 5.5 back, the Phillies. That's a week ago. So they've made up. That's hard to do in baseball.
Yeah.
5.5 games in 7 days.
Yep.
Obviously, the Phillies now have won 8 of 10. The Mets have lost 6 in a row, so it adds up. But they've trended upwards in a hurry in the division. So it should be a fun weekend.
Yeah, it really should be. And Ricky mentioned it on Postgame Live tonight. the atmosphere. I think the fans are just ready for this series.
Yeah.
And obviously we'll get to that towards the end of the show here, but let's talk about the offense. Obviously not really high scoring games. But they did what needed to be done, including Kyle Schwarber. Senor June Marion comes through. What can you say about Kyle? We'll start with him, and then obviously we'll get to Alec Bohm.
Yeah, no, I mean, Schwarber, he's been hitting the ball hard a lot in this series, and early tonight he was too. He lined out, hit a foul ball down the line, so you could kind of tell like he was starting to. It was a matter of time before he connected, and then he just got a cookie in that 8th inning, and obviously when he gets a pitch like that, generally that's what's going to happen. But yeah, big hit. He's obviously was off to that hot start. This is typically the month we were all expecting him, and he's been okay, but he hasn't been what he was in April and May. So he's been a little slow, but he's hitting the ball hard. It's only a matter of time, I think, before he starts getting more extra base hits, getting some more home runs. And I'm talking like he's got 23 home runs. That's I think the only people in the big leagues who have more are Cal Raleigh, Shohei, and Judge.
Yep.
So
we'll
exactly. Take that. But yeah, no, big hit, big moment for him to get that win. And you mentioned Bohm. I mean, he's been excellent. I know he had the infield hit tonight, hit a ball hard in his last at bat and kind of got robbed of a hit. But, going into tonight, multiple hits in 6 of his last 9, hitting 340 since May 1st.
Yeah.
It's pretty incredible the way he has stepped up, which has been beneficial without Harper in the lineup. So he's great. And, he's approaching 300 on the season, which, the way he hit in April to be this up to 300 already, by mid-June just shows you how good he's been for the last month and a half.
Yeah, especially with the slow start. We've mentioned it in previous podcasts. Obviously, he was not hitting the way that he wanted to hit, but he's obviously come through. He's batting .291 now. He was 1 for 4 with a run scored on Thursday here. If he continues to hit this well, and obviously without Bryce, someone need to step up. He stepped up. And then another name that has stepped up, his first home run in a month last night on Wednesday. And then tonight, our second baseman, or I shouldn't say the Phillies second baseman, is the only one with multiple hits in Thursday's game. Bryson Stott, there's 2 for 3 with an RBI and a walk. The home run, he said that the swing just loosened things up. He was talking to Kevin Long and Rob Thompson on that swing feeling good. And then he was kind of worried about his elbow. The elbow was obviously bothering him a little bit. It's the same thing as happened last year when he had that kind of swing and tweaked his elbow and it almost pretty much ruined his 2024 season. He was worried about that, but he said the elbow's feeling great, especially with the swing feeling as good as it is right now. Yeah, no, there was a big hit the other night, Wednesday night. Yep. He started to hit the ball hard as well. I thought when Thompson came out after Tuesday's game, I guess, and said he hyperextended his or I guess it was after Monday's game, he had hyperextended his elbow on that swing in the 9th inning. Like, oh boy, this could be an opportunity for them to kind of sit him down. He was really struggling. Maybe he's out for a week. Maybe he goes on the IL, but right back into the next night, said it wasn't really hyperextended. But yeah, I don't know. Like, he's been a guy that I'm convinced he's a good hitter. Like, he just has he takes pitches, he works counts, he's got good at bats, he's a great 2-strike hitter. But it's just the results just haven't been there for him. And he's had a lot of lazy, fly balls to the opposite field, just kind of, swing, just kind of casting his swing out there. So yeah, I want to see him get back to driving the ball, which we started to see a little bit in that Marlins series. And if he gets going, he just really lengthens that lineup, and he can kind of serve as like a second leadoff man down there in the 7-hole or whatever, just to kind of get things going in the bottom of the order. Great defensive second baseman, as we all know. So I'm holding out hope that this is just one of those stretches, and he's not destined to be a 220 hitter. Like, I don't think he's a 220 hitter. I think he could be a 280 hitter. I think we saw that 2 years ago. So let's hope so. Let's hope that he comes out of this, has a big second half, but he's super important to their lineup. So it's good to see him come up with a couple big hits in this series. Corey and I talked about that on the last podcast too. Kevin Long, at some point, I can't remember when it was 2 or 3 years ago, said it wouldn't be surprised if Bryson Stott is a National League batting title winner. And if this swing and if this series kind of open him up as he gets into the All-Star break here, how great. I mean, it would just propel this offense even more, and exactly what they needed. Obviously, he's been up and down the lineup. He batted 7th on Thursday. Mm-hmm. If Bryson Stott can continue to produce at the plate like he has in this series for the next month, even the rest of the season, the Phillies offense is in good shape.
Yep.
Now let's talk about it. It kind of got buried. It kind of actually just hit my head. It's in our rundown here, but with the craziness that started with the pod, the big news of really Wednesday or Tuesday, I guess, was Nick Castellanos being benched.
Yeah.
His streak of 236 career games in a row ends after He made an inappropriate comment, according to Rob Thompson, after the game.
Mm-hmm.
We have, I won't say it's video. You can't really tell, but after Monday's game, obviously he gets pulled from the game. He's walking through, after the win, he's walking through the high five line there. He's getting everybody high fives, and he shakes Rob's hand pretty hard. And you can see him kind of say something to him and kind of walk away. And Rob kind of just looks around. He's like, oh, okay. I don't think that's when the comment happened. I think this comment happened behind closed doors, in the dugout, wherever it was, in the tunnel. But obviously, something had to be said that warranted losing the streak, which we know the streak meant something to him. Last year, he said he wanted to play every game, and he did.
Yeah.
The streak had to mean something to him, so it had to be something bad. We're not going to speculate.
Mm-hmm.
This is not the show where, and I'm sure Ricky and Michael have been saying it all week too. Everyone's like texting me and texting those guys, and I'm sure texting you like, oh, what do you think he said? What did he say? Did you hear it? And I didn't hear anything. Yeah. Well, I don't think we'll ever know what was said from Nick Castellanos to Rob Thompson, but still.
Yeah, it's Rob Thompson doesn't strike me as like the easily offended guy.
Correct.
He seems to kind of let things roll off his back. So for him to call it inappropriate, make it a public thing, bench him, end the streak like you just mentioned, I think it had to be something that was, pretty serious. It wasn't just a throwaway comment, which Rob Thompson took exception to. And I think the fact that it was done in the dugout like we believe it to be, if whatever he said, if he went into his office after Thompson's office, shut the door behind him and said something, Rob Thompson would have been happy, but it's one-on-one, and maybe Rob Thompson takes that and doesn't bench him. But when you say something in the dugout, whatever it was, in front of the team, there has to be some repercussions for that. There's a lot of young guys on this team right now, the Rojas's, the Kemps, just the younger guys, even not the younger guys, the other guys in the team. Yep. If they see a guy say something, whatever it was, to the manager, and there are no repercussions, then what are we doing here? Yep. Like, there has to be something. I'm pretty team topper on the whole thing, not knowing what was said, but I think Rob Thompson has had all of his players' backs, especially Nick Castellanos' backs, because there's been long stretches. The beginning of last year comes to mind, the first couple of months of the 24 season, where Castellanos was struggling, and Topper just keeps running him out there every day, like every day, not just to preserve the streak, but just to hang with him, stick with him. I'm not going to, work your way out of this. He's a streaky hitter. And then there's been instances too, and then he moves him down the lineup, and I know Nick Castellanos has been happy about that, but like, he's had his back. He runs him out there. Nick Castellanos has been streaky. He's been a good hitter. Defensively, you can argue all day, oh, he hasn't had an error in so long. You look at the metrics, and you just, he doesn't cover the most ground out there. He's fine. He's worked really hard at it. Give him all the credit for that. Like, he does work hard. Everybody talks about that. He's worked hard defensively. So he is a serviceable right fielder. But the idea that it's a slap in the face to be taken out of a game, that's been happening in baseball for a long time. Rob Thompson doesn't do it. But as Rob Thompson said, we've been placing a bunch of righties. Rojas hasn't been playing. He's an elite defender.
Correct.
We might as well use him, was his exact quote. Yep. Puts him out in center field, Kepler to right, Marsh to left. That's your best defensive alignment in the outfield. It's a close game. Yep. I get it. Nick's not happy about it. That's fine. That's his prerogative, but there's a way to handle it. There's a way not to handle it. I think it seems like it's all over with now, but I think Rob Thompson did the right thing. I think he had every right to take him out of the game, and then he's not happy. He says something. He's got to bench him. He benched him, and everybody seems to be moving on. It seems like Nick has accepted it, but anyhow, I just think that Thompson has had his back in the ups and downs, and I think that needs to be reciprocated a little bit, not some ill-advised comment in front of the whole team. That's my big.
I think you're 100% right.
Yeah.
There's been way too many times, way too many strong, but there's been a lot of times where Rob Thompson has had Nick Castellanos' back.
Yeah.
I think you're exactly right. And I think the best comparison that I've seen is we have managers, bosses, right?
Indeed.
If I go and say something to my boss right now that is an inappropriate comment, I might be fired, let alone
in the middle of the newsroom.
Correct.
Out, hey, you know what? Whatever was said, because you're not happy. That's not the way you handle it. You have to be a professional.
There's consequences that come to that. And I think you're exactly right too, where, and I'm sure there's joking. Rob Thompson is one of the best managers, one in baseball, just in general. Winning percentage backs that up. But just in terms of like nice, kind of low-key, very down-to-earth guys, I'm sure they mess with them all the time. Something was said that overstepped that boundary.
No doubt.
And I know I've heard Rob a few times kind of he messes with us. I'm sure it's a lot of fun, but something had to be said that stepped that line. And that's the consequence that you have to take. Yep. And obviously Nick comes back on Wednesday and makes the game-winning catch.
It's crazy how that works out. Yeah.
Baseball, baby.
Yeah.
That's baseball.
That's baseball.
It was a perfect ending. And I love Bryson Stott's comment after the game when talking to the guys in the booth. I guess him and some of the guys in the dugout said that they were living in a simulation, and that confirmed that Nick made that catch. So,
yeah.
And of course, does what he does after the catch, and everyone was really happy about that. And we move on.
Yeah,
we move on. And I also thought it was kind of. Do you think he swung? So he had 4 at bats. He swung on the first pitch on all 4 at bats.
Yes,
on Wednesday.
That was strange.
I think is that just like a hey.
Who knows with Nick? Obviously, he's a guy that's a free swinger, and he's going to swing early. He's not one to work the count typically.
Yep.
So I don't know. I don't know if that was some sort of something in his head. He seems, he talked again on Thursday before the game. Kind of clearing the air a little bit further, which he seems like it's all good. It should be good. There will be a time, I think, this season. Now, wisely, Rob Thompson didn't do it this series, but I think there's going to be a time again when they're up a run or two, and Rob Thompson has the right to take him out of the game. Like, that happens, man. Like,
and the contrary, you and I talked about this in the newsroom today. He has made numerous 2022, 2023
in the playoff. Yeah.
He's made those catches where it saved games. He's the one that comes to mind is the sliding catch in the day game against Atlanta in 2022, and the one that he made the catch. Yes, the World Series catch. Perfect example.
Yep.
And then the other catch also in that Atlanta series where he slid into foul territory, got up and threw out the runner at home.
Yeah.
Like he can make these plays. I agree with Rob Thompson though, where Yohan Rojas is probably the best defender. He might be the best center field defender in all of baseball.
Right.
The guy in Oakland, his name's the guy.
Laureano?
No.
The highlight catch.
With he had 2 of them.
Yep.
I forget his name. That's really bad.
No, I know who you're talking about. Yes.
Yohan Rojas is still one of the best defenders in center field, in the outfield, in all of baseball. It has to be completely understandable that he made that switch.
Yep.
So.
No,
we move on.
Yeah, we move on. Hopefully everybody's moving on from that.
I think so.
But Nick did make a good point. Just my last thing on this.
Yeah, of course.
Which, if you talk to Ricky, if you talk to Ben Davis, if you talk to Ruben Amaro Jr., like, these guys, if you include spring training and the playoffs, like they've been in the playoffs the last few years, they're literally with each other every day for 8 months. Yep. So it'd be silly to think that they'd be holding hands and skipping away. That there's going to be arguments. There's going to be confrontations with Nick. He kind of alluded to that on Thursday before the game, which is a great point. So if this is the worst thing that happens in terms of something that gets out into the public, I think they're in pretty good shape. Like, this happens a lot in baseball, and as many guys are together for so long, there's going to be some disagreements and some arguments and some hurt feelings, but hopefully you can be adults and move on and go from there.
Yeah. And I'm sure this happens more often than not.
No doubt.
But it just came out because he got benched and the streak ended. So we move on. We move on. Rob Thompson moved on. Nick Castellanos moved on, even though he was 0-4 on Thursday, but that's here nor there.
Sure.
Is there anything else you want to hit offense-wise, bullpen-wise? I thought the bullpen was great. Obviously, we mentioned it earlier in the show. Ryan Kirkering is, my opinion, the closer. He has just looked so much more confident. The fastball is working. The slider looks just as good as it did when he first came up. I'm 100% on the board with Ryan Kirkering being the closer going forward here.
Yeah.
As long as those nerves can settle down and we move on. So,
Mets, baby.
Yeah, let's do it, dude.
Yeah.
Fun. It's going to be so much fun. They are reeling pretty badly. They get swept by the Rays, and they get swept by the Braves in Atlanta. And we talked about it on the pod multiple times where this Braves team is not as good. I just don't think they're that good this year, and that's fine.
I keep waiting for the Braves to kind of, but I don't know if that's going to happen.
Yeah.
We'll see. But
I guess they're 34-39 now. They were 31-39 coming into the series.
Yeah.
So. But yeah, this series is going to be so much fun. Obviously, it's well known now that the games aren't on our air. That's what happens when you have a battle for first place on June 20th through 22nd, especially when the team that knocked out this team last year in the playoffs, a lot of revenge. The Mets swept the Phillies in the first series that they played this year at the end of April. What's the one thing you're looking forward to the most?
I'm just looking forward to the Phillies actually wanting to send a message here, because you just referenced the playoffs and the sweep in April. If you go before the playoffs, if you remember, they went up there. I know you were up there for a couple of these games last September. Phillies had a chance to clinch the division up there a couple times, lost 3 of 4 up there. So if you include that series, the playoff series, then they lost 3 of 4 in the NLDS. That's 6 of 8. Then they get swept. So if you do the math on that, I believe they've lost 9 of their last 11.
That sounds right.
Against the Mets. You lose 3 or 4. You only have 2 wins in those 2 series. You get swept, you lose 3 and all. So they're 2-9 in their last 11 against the Mets, including the postseason dating back to last September. So that's a pretty lopsided tally. And the Mets, at Citi Field kind of took care of them pretty emphatically. So I think the Phillies, it's a regular season series. They're tied for the division, all that. But the Phillies just need to prove to the Mets, to themselves, like, hey, you don't have our number here. We're back. We're going to take care of business here. I would love for Ranger and Sanchez to be pitching in this series. No disrespect to Luzardo or Abel, but it'd be great if they could line up, Wheeler, Ranger, and Sanchez. But I still think they have the advantage. They're at home. You mentioned the atmosphere is going to be off the charts.
It better be.
Yeah, but I think for a long baseball season, this is like as important as it gets, just from a psyche.
Yep.
We got to beat these guys. They've had our number. They bounced us in the playoffs. They've swept us. They're going to see them a couple more times this year. They could see them again. Who knows? In October again. So it's time for the Phillies to prove to themselves, to the Mets, to everybody else that, we're not only can play with these guys, we can beat these guys. And I think that'd be nice if they went out and sent a message and swept them let the Mets get swept for the third straight series. At least take 2 or 3. Don't lose this series. Like, take care of the Mets. It's time.
You have to. And as you said, it sends a message not only to the NL East, but the whole National League in general.
Yeah.
You get in here, a sweep, taking 2 or 3 to a team that's just completely reeling. Mm-hmm. It would be such a momentum boost heading in to the rest of the season. I was looking at the pitching matchups. You mentioned Zach Wheeler gets the ball on Friday. The Mets haven't released a starter yet for that game, according to MLB.com.
Yeah.
Saturday, Griffin Canning versus Mick Abel. And on Sunday, Jesus Luzardo versus David Peterson. Yep. This is I think, the big game. Obviously, Wheeler's going to do what Wheeler does on Friday night. The game on Saturday, Mick Abel, this is obviously the biggest start of his young career. It's his 5th career start. He's 2-0 with a 2.21 ERA. Obviously, the first 2 starts were great. The last 2 have been okay. Mm-hmm. This is such a big spot for Mick Abel.
Yeah. No, and he faced some lineups. So the Blue Jays, he's faced the Cubs, but the Mets lineup is pretty, a lot of big names in there, a lot of talented guys there. So yeah, it'll be a big spot for him Saturday, national TV. As you mentioned, none of these games are on our air. Mm-hmm. So Saturday, it'll be a Fox Saturday night game, yep. Sunday night, ESPN. So yeah, Wheeler's got to get you Friday. You need that one. And then hopefully you win the next 2, at least win one of the next 2, win the series and move on. But yeah, it'll be a big spot for Mick. I mean, Jesus, who knows? Like, Jesus really could use a good outing from him on Sunday night.
Especially in front of the national audience on ESPN, the only night game on Sunday night. Yeah. Big spot for Jesus.
All eyes on them. So it should be good. Should be exciting. I'd be real disappointed if they don't win the series. Yeah. I feel like a sweep. The only reason I don't want to say a sweep is because the Mets have lost 6 in a row. Like, are they really going to lose 9 games in a row? I mean, they should, but maybe they find a way to get one of these games on Saturday or Sunday. But no, I'm feeling it. I'm feeling a big series win, and I don't think a sweep is too far fetched the way these 2 teams are playing right now.
And we've seen these guys get up for series like this. We've also seen them not get up for series like this. Let's hope it's the first one there where they get up and. Hey, if you're listening to this, either when you're on the way to the ballpark today or on Friday, whatever it is, you better be loud, you better be ready, and that place is going to be rocking. And I don't think there's not a doubt in my mind that place won't be packed and rocking. I already know a bunch of friends that are going to the game on Friday. Our good buddy Johnny P,
John Piazza,
Mets fan who works here, he will be at the game on Friday as well. But oh man, I got chills thinking about it right now. It's gonna be so much fun. Anything else you want to hit on? The only thing we didn't hit on, Aaron Nola goes to the 60-day IL. Kind of a flurry of roster moves. Weston Wilson sent down. Hopefully he finds his swing back and kind of gets things going down at AAA. Buddy Kennedy's back up here with the big league team. We've seen the Buddy Kennedy game, multiple games. Obviously Otto Kemp, if he keeps swinging the way he does.
How about him getting a chance perhaps to be a left field platoon guy?
Yeah.
With Max Kepler. So if there's lefty on the mound, you might see a lot of Otto Kemp in left field.
He started taking some fly balls in left field.
Yeah.
That'd be
sounds like Bryce is making some progress.
Yep.
Maybe it's not too far fetched to think he's back maybe next week in Houston.
Yeah.
I'd be surprised if you see him against the Mets, but it sounds like he's starting to do a little throwing, a little swinging, then do some more hitting on Friday. So that'd be great. Things start rolling. You get a series win. You get Bryce back. But yeah, Nola, not too surprising. Obviously, that 60-day can be back time to when he first went on the 15-day, which has been over a month ago now, which was May 16th.
Yep.
So we kind of figured he wasn't coming back. Now he won't be able to come back till at least after the All-Star break. The All-Star break, I think the first game back is the 18th.
Yep.
Which he would be eligible for.
He can come back on July 14th.
Right, which I think that's the break.
That is the break. Exactly. Yeah. Yep. Exactly.
So yeah, I think that last game before the break is either the 12th or the 13th. But anyhow, so yeah, Nola earliest he's back is after the break, that first weekend after the break. But I think it'd probably be a little longer than that.
I think so
too. He's got to make some rehab starts and kind of ramp himself back up after not pitching for 2 months.
Yeah. Which is crazy to sit here and think about, but it's exciting. Yeah. And Rob Thompson, you hit on it. Bryce started throwing the ball on Thursday here. I didn't know what day it was. Yeah. And he'll hopefully start swinging to the cage. We'll do some light tee work and then get in the cage here. And man, I wish he was here for this series though. This is the series that he lives for. And I'm sure he's dying to be out there. And like I said, hopefully it'd be great to see him back in Houston. So
yeah.
All right. Hey, we'll catch you guys next week then. The off day on Monday, I'm sure we'll record one then. But just a huge series coming up here for the Phillies, facing division rival, battle for first place in the National League East as we sit down here towards the end of June already. So, hey, that's Sean Kane. I'm Spencer McKercher.
Thanks, Spence.
Hopefully, we're talking to you with a lot of excitement and not disappointment.
Yes, let's hope so.